Hi, welcome to Heaven Knows Podcast. My name is Angie. Today we're going to start with the basics. So you've discovered astrology and you would love to learn, how do I read a chart? How do I understand what I'm looking at? There are a lot of really fantastic courses out there, and a lot of people do function best when they have a teacher and homework and a curriculum to follow. But my personal advice is to keep it fun. You can learn everything you need to learn with astrology for free. You don't actually have to have a diploma on your wall. You don't need a certification that gives you permission to say that you understand astrology. Practice makes perfect, and there are amazing free resources available in the form of podcasts and books at the library. There's informational articles on the internet. There's tons and tons of informational YouTube videos. If there is a desire to learn, you can learn all of this for free. Now, the question comes up sometimes about what form of astrology is correct. Is it Vedic or is it modern? Is it whole sign house system or is it Placidus? And I like to look at it as languages. French isn't more accurate than Spanish. The same way, they're all going to be correct, just explain things in a different vocabulary, through a different lens. And you are going to find what works best for you. Follow your intuition to what you feel most called to learn in. Maybe find a teacher that you like and feel like, okay, the way they teach makes a lot of sense to me. I want to learn this way. I use modern astrology, Western astrology, and that works great for me. I've also chosen to use Placidus house system just because I compared my chart and the charts of those that I know very well using both Placidus and whole sign, and discovered that while whole sign works great for a lot of really fantastic astrologers, I felt like I understood myself and those around me through a lens that resonated better with me when using Placidus. So that's why I chose that, but that doesn't make it any more right than whole sign. Follow your intuition, take what resonates and leave the rest. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to be perfect. In astrology, we're never saying that this is the one truth and it can't deviate. What we're saying is this is one lens that I see this through. This is one artist's depiction of a soul, of a life, of a story, of an event. And that can take many different shapes and forms and be described in different nuances. You can take the same chart and have 20 different astrologers read it and get 20 very different pictures of who a person is, but in the end, they're all talking about the same person. So, again, find what resonates and leave the rest. Now, for the basics, where do you start? There are signs and there are planets and there are houses and there are aspects and there are transits and there are, oh my goodness, what do I do? My advice is start with the signs. If you get to know each of the 12 archetypes of the zodiac, really get to know their personalities, their stories, their challenges, their strengths, their gifts, the ways that you can relate to them. You have all 12 signs within you. They'll show up in different ways in different areas. And as you get to know your chart, you're going to understand how these different energies show up. But if you fully understand these 12 different archetypes, as if they're characters that you know and love, you're going to understand the rest of astrology so much easier. Because here's the interesting thing. Every sign correlates to a planet and correlates to a house. Now, it's not going to be exactly the same. Scorpio is not exactly the same as Pluto, and Pluto is not exactly the same as the 8th house. But if you understand the energy of Scorpio to start with, what they're about, what they're like, then you're going to understand Pluto in the 8th house on an easier level later on too. So start by that. Just have fun with it too. Talk to as many people as you can and say, what is your sun sign? If you can find out their moon sign, all the better. Get to know these archetypes and try to connect that to characters, whether they be fictional or real life characters. And like, oh yeah, I kind of recognize that behavior. I recognize the storyline. I recognize their strengths and challenges. And get to know them like personalities. Because once you have those 12 signs down, the rest is easier. A lot easier. Now, there are a lot of really amazing courses and classes and teachers where you could get certifications and diplomas and degrees. But here's the thing. Find your learning style that works best for you. One of the things that I love the most about living in this modern day and age is that a lot of this information is available to us for free. And nobody really cares about a diploma. You can learn everything you want to learn by borrowing books from the library, from other people who have these kind of books, by reading free articles on the internet, watching lots of YouTube videos, listening to lots of interesting podcasts. There are so many resources available that learning astrology does not have to cost you a dime. Sometimes it is easier to take things at our own pace. And it's not just about it being easier, but it gives you the freedom to follow what you think is fun. Maybe you want to follow a specific order, like learn the fire signs first, and then the water signs, and then the air signs. But maybe it would be more fun and interesting for you to get to know your own, say, big three first, your sun sign, your moon sign, your ascendant, regardless of what element they're in or what kind of sign they are. So take things in your order, at your pace, when you feel like it, because the joy of learning is such an important ingredient to the whole process. As long as you still think it's fun and interesting and it's not a chore, it's not heavy, it's not an expectation and a demand that you set on yourself, you're gonna have the freedom to just dive into nerding out and learning at your own pace in the right, whatever order is right for you. Nobody can come back and slap your hand and grade you on that. You're supposed to learn things in this order. No, take what resonates, what's easiest for you, and go that way. But my advice, what worked best for me, is learn the signs first. After you feel like you have a really solid grip of all 12 zodiac signs, you can identify, okay, these ones are fire signs, these ones are air signs, these ones are mutable, these ones are cardinal. There's a lot of interesting words to describe each sign, but the more you get to know a sign, the more these are going to fall into place and you'll understand them. When you can say, I know what an Aquarius is. I know everything there is to know. We can't possibly know everything there is to know, but to the best of our abilities, about what an Aquarius or a Sagittarius is. Then move on to the planets. Get to know the planets with what sign they classically belong to. Also, how fast they move full circle around the sun. And what kind of effect they can have on us. Each planet is an important influence. And they're so interesting to get to know. And honestly, so much easier to get to know than the signs. But if you have the signs down as the basics, learning the planets is going to be a piece of cake. After you've learned the signs and the planets, that's when you can get to know the 12 houses of the birth chart. And the thing is, each house doesn't just mean one thing. They can mean a bunch of different things. There's lots to learn, and you don't have to worry about, oh no, I have to be exactly right. Sometimes there'll be correlations between different ones. And I feel like I'm getting into too complicated territory. My point is just, there's so much to learn. Look at that as an opportunity to discover that there's so much more. It doesn't have to be just one thing. I'll give you an example. The 5th house. Some people say it's about dating and sex. Some people say it's about children and your inner child. For some, it's about creativity, creative expression, your hobbies, what sparks joy. And you know what? They're all correct. All of that falls under the category of what the 5th house stands for. And you're going to learn through your own personal experiences with when planets move through, for example, your 5th house. What happened? How did that show up in my life? How did it make me feel? What was going on at that point? And having conversations with other people while looking at their charts. Ooh, I see that Saturn's been in your 5th house for 1.5 years now. Talk to me about what you've been learning this 1.5 years. What's been tough? In what ways have you matured and evolved? You're going to learn from these personal experiences so much more than a clinical book could teach you. Because we are real life, moving, breathing individuals with interesting, complex stories and narratives. And that's the whole point of astrology, isn't it? To understand each other, to understand ourselves, to get to know these stories on a deeper level. That's the fun part. So, you got the signs down, you got the planets down, you understand the houses. And now let's put it all together. Aspects. Don't worry, they're actually a lot easier than they look. They seem really complicated. But once you've understood what Pluto and Mars are, then you're going to understand what their relationships to each other can be. This goes a lot faster once you have the basics down. It's nothing to be afraid of. Spoiler alert, it's never really as complicated as it looks from the beginning. I don't know if you remember, but I can remember being like 5 years old, just before kindergarten, being really jealous of my older brother because he could read books. He could look at these squiggles on paper and be able to speak out loud, knowing what it's meaning, knowing what it's saying, painting pictures and describing things from these black and white squigglies on a page. I wanted to do that so bad. For me, it was rocket science. It was revolutionary, it was brilliant, and it was complex, and it was grown up and cool. And eventually, I started to learn how to read too. Of course, in the beginning, it's hard. And then once you get the hang of it, you're like, you know what? I can do this. And before you know it, it goes pretty automatic. Now we can't look at a word without accidentally reading it. And astrology is the same way. It seems complex and difficult, and oh, there are so many rules and so many things it could mean, and it's so abstract. But you know what? The more you play with it, that's the important part. Play with it for the fun of it. Learn as you go, just from curiosity and joy, and everything is going to fall into place in the right order. I don't think there's an astrologer in the world who says they're done. This is one of those things that you will always keep learning and growing and evolving, because society is learning and growing and evolving. Mankind is learning, growing, and evolving. The science of astrology, I know I'm going to rub some people the wrong way by calling it a science, but I like that, is growing and evolving. So we will always have the opportunity to keep getting to know more. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't expect everything all at once. Don't beat yourself up, and don't make a chore out of it. Keep it fun and keep it simple. But start with the 12 signs and you'll be great. I'm looking forward to going through all this a little bit more in detail, having videos and conversations and podcast episodes about each sign, each element, each planet, each house, each aspect, so we can all put it all together. But until then, have a beautiful day. Take care, and I will see you next time.